Today we're going to go through how to book multiple courses at once. So you might have already watched the video, which was how to create a course using the courses calendar view. But what we're going to do today, because we've got a very large client booking, so we've got BEH booking in 30 ILS courses. And if you can already imagine what that would be, putting them in manually, it's going to be fairly time consuming. So what we're going to do is try and clean up as much as we can, because it's going to, all the details are the same for each of these courses. So we've got 30 ILS courses all happening for BEH. So the cost is the same. There are 6-person courses and they're all happening at St. Anne's Lecture Theatre. So what we're going to do, because we can put them all together in once, and this is what you're going to be using when it comes to the new course bookings for 2022. They typically come in, I would say probably September onwards. So what you want to be really familiar with how you can utilize some of the efficiencies that are actually in the system, so that you're not sitting there having to plug in all these specific details for each course. So we're going to go into the first thing that I'm going to do, and it's the first thing that I always check when I have to do multiple courses, is I double check through the course template what this course is going to pull through for me automatically. Remember, this is where we store, it's like our hub for the types of courses, essentially all of the products that we offer. So I'm going to first go into here and say course templates. Now we're working with ILS courses, so I'm going to go into here. Now, because we're going to use a different system, which is called the legacy system, some of this we're going to have to manually put in anyways. But what I do want to do is change any of the details that I already know I have to kind of save me some time when it comes to actually booking in these courses. So I'm in my immediate life support course. I'm going to scroll down here because none of this I input. Duration type, if this was not an 8-hour full day course, I would amend it here. You can do it by day, minute, although that would never really be working. So we're going to say 8 hours. I typically always put this on an hour as opposed to 1 day, because 1 day is all of a sudden going to take me from like 8 o'clock in the morning from the 11th of April to 8 o'clock in the morning on the 12th of April. So try and always do it quite specific with your timings. Number of places, yes, I want 6. You know, sometimes when you're doing like a 12-person ILS course or an 18-person, if it's a multiple course booking like we're going to do now, I would have changed this to 12 so I don't have to manually change it each time I create a course. I'm also going to change the cost of this so that it's specific. So this is already at $475, which is our rate for BEH, so I can leave that as it is. I'm just going to keep scrolling down. None of the other things that I need to change, because these are all standardized functions, like which survey gets sent through. I don't want it to be advertised because it's not going to be linked to our website. I don't want external candidates seeing it. So I'm just going to scroll all the way up and I'm going to hit save in case there was anything that I changed. The other thing that I want to check, because I do not want to have to be changing this and amending this manually, is my resource section. So do you see how it shows here, an employed instructor, the requirement met no? This means that for every course that you put in, this is automatically going to be attached to it. So it's also going to show up on your dashboard to say that you need an employed instructor for this course. Let's say if you were booking these courses and you had an instructor in mind, if it was an employed instructor, it would take it and it's going to tick it off for you because the system knows that you've just met its requirement. If, however, you were booking these courses for a non-substantive instructor, and I'll show you once we get more, once we progress with this section, if it was a non-substantive instructor that you were going to allocate to every 31 of your ILS courses you're about to create, it's not going to pull through. So what's going to happen is you're going to have 30 new ILS courses and you have met the requirements because you've allocated a non-substantive instructor. But this thinks it needs an employed instructor. So your dashboard is going to show 30 new ILS courses that, yes, it has a non-substantive instructor, but it also needs an employed instructor. So if that was the case, amend this accordingly. So if I had a non-substantive instructor that I wanted to allocate this to, I'm just going to delete it entirely. I know I'm going to have an instructor booked for every single one of these courses, so it's absolutely fine. That's okay then. So I'm going to go back to details and I'm going to go save. Now I know that every single ILS course that I'm going to create from scratch is going to be an 8-hour course. It's going to show that it needs 6 people, and my cost is going to be a 475. It's also not going to have any resources attached to it. So we're going to now switch over to the legacy system. And this used to be a historical system that we used when we initially started working with Access Planet. So we're going to go to course management and then courses. This is the only thing I ever use this system for, and it's just specifically for multiple courses and how easy it makes it. So let's go into Course Wizards. My training provider is always going to be A to E. My course template, we need to go and click on this. So I'm going to type in here and I'm going to say immediate. Now, I definitely need my traditional course, which is my immediate life support course. I do not want face-to-face assessments. I don't want a recertification course and so forth. So we're going to click on ILS, which is pulled here. So I've just double checked. Yes, that's correct. Let's go next. Now, account groups don't need to be associated with anything because this isn't going to be specific for anybody. I know obviously it's going to be for BEH staff, but the way that we use the system, we don't allocate it to accounts. So we can just jump to next. Now, my venue is definitely important, so I'm going to go select. Your venue is automatically going to show up with your type. So do you see how it says Central England and Wales? That's the one that I need. If I was booking something for, let's say, Wilmslow for HCA, I would have to go to North England and Scotland. And then it'll show me the resources that fall under that region. So here's Wilmslow here. But we're going to go back, and I'm going to go back to Central England and Wales. And I know that I need BEH. I'm going to double check because I can't remember if it was a lecture theatre or L&D training room. So I'm going to go see my comms that I got sent. Definitely says L&D training room. So I'm going to click here. If you were to click on the blue link here, it's going to take you to the actual details of the resource. It's handy if you weren't sure of the address. Sometimes we get a little bit confused when it comes to Harley Street Clinic and the different locations. The boardroom's going to be in Devonshire. The actual hospital where the training takes place is 35. So you'll be able to see those details here. So this is the correct one I need. I'm just going to hit close. I'm going to go and click on my L&D training room again. I'm going to say, okay. So yes, it's pulling across. My 475 is pulling across as well. Remember, we updated that in the course template, so I don't even need to type there anymore. My trainer, I'm going to tick, because remember, this is not going to pull through my resource requirement that I need. The exact same way that the resource just changed when it went to Central England and Wales, it's right now showing me only administrative support. So we're going to jump through, and I'm going to say that I've got a non-substantive instructor that I'm going to be able to book. So we can scroll down here and we can try and search for the non-substantive instructor that you're going to use. So let's say Vicky was going to do all these courses. So we're going to click on Vicky and we're going to say, okay. So I've got my venue, I've got my trainer, I've got the right course. Places number, I'm going to hit 6 because that's how many candidates can come on that day. My status is always going to be available. And I'm going to tick this as private, just so that nobody who's booking onto the course when the website is launched can see this course. So I'm going to click next, and I'm going to say add multiple course dates. Now this is where you actually choose what date that the course is taking place. So let's say BEH asked that from the first week of May, every single Tuesday, they want to have an ILS course running. So we need one on the 4th of May. Notice that it's automatically put my start time to 8 o'clock. I'm going to change that. So I'm just going to highlight that and then type exactly the same right over it. So I'm going to say 09. Just like that. And then also change this bit here. Obviously, if they've agreed to have like a later start time, then definitely put the correct start time. But we're going to say this is a standard 9 a.m. start. Now, don't have any candidates to put on here. Otherwise, you could book them from here. But with this many courses, I doubt you've got the names of all of them. So we're going to say add. And automatically, you're going to see that it's popped up right away. Now, what I can do is it's going to save it. I need to do this for every single Tuesday starting in May. So let's jump ahead and go 9. Notice it's kept your 9 o'clock start time, so you don't need to change that each time. That's kept everything for us. It's kept my date and time, where it's going to be. Vicky's going to be attached to every single one of these. So we can just keep going here. And 25th. Now for this example, I'm only going to do 25, say add. Now, what I normally do is I'm going to look at the dates that are showing here, and I'm going to then revert back to the email that the client sent me just to double check my date and times and that I've got everything. If you notice, and hopefully I can stumble upon an example, but we'll see. If you notice anything appearing red, just got lucky, either it's going to be your venue or it's going to be the trainer. The reason this is showing red is because it's saying that Vicky's having an availability clash. So you know how in the new system, as soon as you hit save to like a new course, let's say if you were allocating an instructor or even the venue, and it comes up with that pop-up alert that says that there's a clash, and you know the instructor has an availability clash or the venue has an availability clash. This is what it's showing me here. So if you ever see anything in red, it's either going to be your BEH St. Anne's venue that's going to show red, or your trainer, because one of those, if not both, has an availability clash. So what we're going to see here is that Vicky's got one, so she might not be able to do this course. If you need to edit anything, go into here, and you might just have to delete this, or you can take Vicky out. Sorry, clearly not clicking on the right thing. So you can go to select and then untick Vicky's name and then say okay. Now the one thing that I would do if I did this and I realized that actually Vicky can't do this, once I created all of these, I would make a note and say the 13th of May is a no-go for Vicky. I would definitely do that if the venue was there. So I would make a note of this date and say that I need to go check the bookings to see what's going on. And also make sure that maybe Vicky has that date in her calendar as well. If it was a venue clash, I would revert that back to the client and say, oh, actually, we've already got something happening in the L&D training room. It's the best way that you're going to flag any errors that are coming through. So I'm just going to end up taking this out and say, okay. And now I'm back to my 4th, 5th, 11th, 18th, 25th. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go next. Now what this page is allowing me to do is just to double check again what bookings I've just put in the system. So I'm going to go back to my email that my client sent just to make sure all of this matches. So yes, those were the dates that they wanted. Yes, those were the time. Yes, I've got my instructor. And then I'm going to click finish. And it doesn't take you back to anywhere. It just takes you back to the main page. So as soon as I've done that, I'm going to switch to the new system. And I'm going to go to courses. Remember, we like seeing the most recent courses that were booked into the system. So we're going to go to date created. And we're going to go to the newest courses that are booked. Do you notice these are all the ones that I've just put in the system? If any of these were wrong, remember that Vicky had a clash on one of these dates, but we ended up deleting it though. If you did have to amend anything, because maybe you did put this in wrong, you can always delete it by clicking on the right section and then going delete. Just make sure that it's only the course that it cannot delete multiple courses at the same time, by the way. So it's going to go off of the one that this arrow was associated with. If for any reason, we kept Vicky in there even though she had a clash, this is probably where I would go and amend it because I just like to double check everything. What I also do is I always have resource requirements not met count up here. Do you notice how they all say 0? That's exactly what they should do because I've met all of my requirements. The reason I have is because Vicky's here. If I didn't take that resource off in that place that we were in before, remember the course templates and it was showing an employed instructor, this is where it would flag it for me because it would say that I had one requirement not met and that one requirement would have been an employed instructor, but I don't even need that to highlight for me because we've got Vicky. This is also where I would have gone in just to remove her for the class. So let's say it was the 25th of May that she had the availability clash. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say edit. And it's going to take me to that same page where I would make a new course if I was working off of the course's calendar view. And I'm just going to go scroll down, just so I need to go to resources. And I'm going to remove Vicky off of this course. I'm going to go to details and I'm going to hit save. And this is how I can make sure that my save has just taken. So I've got one unmet requirement, which is Vicky. So it's showing correctly like it's supposed to, because I don't have Vicky anymore to change or to teach this course. So I do need that showing. All of these courses are actually going to show as well in the courses calendar view. So we can go and take a look in there. Once you book any courses, you can then send a copy of the email to another member of the support services team so they can go ahead and check that all of these are input correctly. They're going to show the exact same way. So the first course that we had put in was the 4th of May. I'm going to clean this up a little bit so we don't see as much stuff. Remember, we were at BEH, L&D room, and this is where it's showing. This is my new course that I just put in. So it looks exactly like any other course would be.